Good afternoon. Happy Friday. I wanted to jump on here and kind of do a quick update. I'm seeing a lot of confusion in the group, and so I want to kind of talk about, the HB 2005 situation. And I'm seeing conflicting reports. I saw something the other day from Washington Gun Law, which I totally respect and trust that guy, but I feel that the date was incorrect. And from the information that I dug up, we have until September 1st for this thing to go into effect fully. And so I kind of want to touch base with you guys about this and make sure that we're all on the same page, because I definitely don't want people to freak out. And, obviously, it is an important thing to know upcoming dates and, what the rules are and regulations. And so I'd like to talk about them. Hope you guys are doing good. What I'd like to do is I'm going to share my screen here so you guys can kind of see what I see. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. And so I'm not seeing what's coming up on Facebook, so I don't know who's commenting. So I apologize for that. But just I'm going to do a quick screen share so we can kind of talk about it, and then if there's any questions. And the goal is just to kind of get everybody on the same page. And so, thank you guys for tuning in. And so I'm gonna start presenting my screen. Give me 1 second here. And here we are. So hopefully you guys can see it. Can you I hope you guys can see it. So this is the last edition of this bill. And so this is the one I believe that's going to be it was signed by the governor. And this is basically what I'll do is I'll put a link to this in this video, guys, so you guys can reference everything. And so there's confusion. There was a post that came into the group just a little bit ago, and it didn't necessarily make me feel kind of good. So I pulled it because I was concerned about um somebody breaking the law. And I'm not gonna condone that or endorse that. And I definitely you're setting as an FFL, you're setting yourself up for liability there. So I don't want any part of that. And so that's why I pulled it. And then I figured that I would do a little video here so we can kind of talk about this. So the way this is going, so we're talking about current law. These are all definitions. I remember when we were fighting this, they were trying to make it where we were going to have to serialize uppers. I believe that was thrown out because they would be redefining against already current federal law, also ATF guidelines. So I'm pretty sure that got shelved. And so, they're concerned. They're talking about ghost guns. Ghost guns, in their view, are guns that cannot be detected by metal detectors. This is something that's make believe, and we don't have guns that can pass through metal detectors. I mean, if there are, they're probably home made. I don't know how effective they would be. And they're basically looking at Die Hard. And so talk about undetectable firearms. So obviously they're big on 80 percenters. They're big on ones that have been 3D printed. And so that's right here we're looking at 17C. It says including major component, it is if subjected to inspection of type X-ray machines commonly used at airports would not generate an image or accurately depict the shape of the component. I don't know about you. I've never seen one of these. I don't think I think this is something they're trying to be so broad. They're trying to put everything in there because maybe they're trying to forecast for the future. Maybe in the future we'll have guns that can make it through body scanners. I don't believe that will ever be the case. The gun industry is not evolving at that fast of a pace. So just something to think about. And so we're talking about serialization. Okay, so we have to have in this, and which I'll scroll down to the bottom once it's time. It says that we have to have 80% receivers serialized by September 1st, okay, of 2024. And so what that means is, so if you have a 80%er that you build at home, which is totally fun, totally legal currently right now, for it to be legal, it has to be serialized. So that means it has to go to an FFL, and FFL would have to basically put it on their books and assign it a serial number. So now we're going to be manufacturing our own guns as per ATF guideline. And, it's just it's just an annoyance is what it is. And, for all of us to be compliant, this is what their expectations are. And I'll put everything into this video so you guys can kind of see it firsthand. And so if you guys have questions, you guys can refer to this. And it's a class B felony, right? If we don't comply with this, in my view, this is a violation of Heller, the DC versus Heller decision, where we have the right to have a firearm and we don't have to prove. There's all these different things. So there multiple constitutional violations here of our 2A rights, and it's already been supported at the Supreme Court level. The problem is we need standing so we can challenge it, and then there'll be another lawsuit. So similar like what we went with Measure 114. And so, that's something just to be aware of is we do not have standing until somebody, falls on the grenade, quote unquote, and they are arrested or charged with a crime. And then we would have standing. And so, that's just something to think, understand how your constitutional rights work. And we're talking about unlawful search and seizure, also our Fifth Amendment, where it's the right to not self-incrimination, so understand how they can't just show up at your house. They can't just force you to open up your safe. Would have to have probable cause to be inside your home. They would have to show that you committed a crime, so they would have probable cause. They would have to have a warrant, so there's all these things that are going to go into effect that are hopefully going to help protect your rights. And so I'm a big defender and supporter of our rights, and I feel that what I have in the privacy of my home, as long as it's not regulated under the federal law like a machine gun, I should be able to have that, because obviously we're talking about suppressors. I've been through the background check. I have the tax stamps. I have a trust. I've done everything right to be law abiding. But when it comes to me, wanting to build my own firearms, that's not the business of the government. And we have a rich story tradition of buying and building our own firearms, back to the 1600s or even before. And so why is this now a problem? So, obviously stand on your principles, stand on your convictions, but just know that there is a criminal penalty if you are caught after September 1st with an 80%er that's not serialized. So, and that means it has to go to an FFL. They would have to have a laser engraver. They would have to engrave it to depth of ATF standards, yada yada yada. It's common, and so that's where if you're in the Portland area, if you're in the Eugene area, if you're in the Salem area, do a quick Google search, reach out to your local FFLs, and if ask them if they're going to be doing any of the serialization. So if you're concerned about being compliant, make sure that you contact them, give them enough time so you're not running up against the deadline here. And so from that, I mean, it's a felony, to be honest with you. So it's a serious matter, and it's not something you should laugh at. But you also should understand that if this is challenged, it would most likely be thrown out. And so we just have to we would just have to spend more money. And so that's some of the unfortunate things here. So other than that, it's all here. Um, And so it's actually possession of an unfinished receiver as well. So that's something to think about. Excuse me, I'm getting over being sick again. So, so here's all the information you need. And I'm going to scroll down to the effective dates. And, so These are the effective days. So it talks about, paragraph A, subsection Class B violation, Class A misdemeanor, and then we have a Class C felony. And so the amendments to Section 4 um, become operative September 1st of 2024. You can see it right there. And so I did see the other day in a video that they said July, I believe July 13th, but I'm not seeing that anywhere, so I don't know where that number came from. I'm reading it directly from the OLS website. So this is the stuff that, was signed by the governor, and so this is what's most likely going to go into effect. So, obviously it doesn't have her signature, but you know the deal. So you know the thing. So and so right here it says, they don't have the money for this, and it's going to come out of the general fund. They're forecasting $356,000 for implementation of 2005. There's no telling how many lives it's going to be saved, or if it's going to save any lives, or if it's just going to be an annoyance. And so, just things to think about is, you know, if you're going to roll the dice and take a chance, where you would get in trouble is, from your house to the range, and from your range back to your house. So in transit or transport of these quote unquote 80 percenters, or now, which technically now would be 100 percenter if you put it together and it's now a functioning firearm, so just something to think about. Understand your rights, understand how to stand up for your rights, understand that if I'm stopped for speeding, I'm not committing a crime. It's a violation. And so that does not give probable cause to search my vehicle. Okay. So stand on your conviction and your principles, but understand that you're technically committing a crime because you have an unserialized 100% firearm. So just something to think about. And I'm not saying to do it, I'm not saying not to do it. I'm saying this is not legal advice. This is for your own information, but this is what it looks like in big picture type situations. So, that being said, I hope this helps clear things up. Obviously we have until September 1st to make sure everything's up to snuff. I'll put the link in here. And so if you guys have any questions about that, you can read up on this. It is confusing. You have to understand, some of the stuff is new, some of it is an addition to the bill. And so you have to kind of read between the lines there. So which we did classes on that in the past. So, I don't want to take too much more of your time, but unless you guys have any questions. Looks like I have a few comments, and I'm gonna end this. Okay, so back. Give me a second. I'm trying to. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Trying to see where we're at here. So, hey, Matt. So, thanks for tuning in. I hope this helps. And, I just saw a lot of confusion. Obviously, I don't want you guys to be confused about something that can impact your life like this. And so, if you have 80 percenters, you have to make a decision on, what you're going to do, whether you're going to comply or not comply. Um, it just takes where we have to challenge in court, which really is not something that we enjoy doing because we don't like funding lawsuits. It's very relevant, and so it's just because it's new to us, and we're not like other states, where other states have been, suing the government for many, many years, and they've been doing it a long time, so they know the process, they know what to expect. They have a little bit better organizations that are doing the fighting, so it's a little bit easier to send checks and fund these lawsuits, and which I believe is really, really important. And it's I don't know where we're at on the current 114. I haven't talked to Tony in a couple days. And so I'd be curious to kind of see where we're at on the funding there and see how everything's going there. So maybe I'll reach out to him and get clarification, see how he's looking, and see if he has any news on the fight. I mean, as far as I know, we're just in a holding pattern. We're waiting for a decision to come out of the Oregon State Supreme Court. So, which we don't know how long that could take. I mean, it could take years. Obviously, the state of Oregon is pushing to make sure that Measure 114 goes into effect immediately, and which is a problem for all of us. So, I saw the queue is back up to about 1,700, so people are buying guns again, and so the process is stringing people along. So if the thing ever goes into effect, I mean, expect chaos. You're not going to be able to buy a gun, and so let's fingers crossed. Let's hope that everything stays the way it is. We get the ruling that we need, and this will just be a bad memory. So I'm actually shocked that they only came after they had one anti-gun bill this year, and I was shocked how in that bill it's 1503 Senate Bill 1503. It's basically a way to keep Democrat politicians in office. And so what it does is it creates this this task force, right? And they fund the task force. And so what the task force does is it comes up with all these ideas, which probably none of them are going to work because they're not going to have gun people involved in the process. Excuse me. And then what they'll do is they're going to take that money and then pass it back to the Oregon legislature, and they're going to do town halls. They're going to do fundraising events. They're going to help elect Democrats to further their control on the state, and that's what's going to happen. And so, that's where it sucked. It was a bad bill, but it's basically a Ponzi scheme or money laundering if you look at it in the big picture. So, not a fan. I don't want to see it go into effect, but I know that if it was between that one and a permit to purchase or a magazine restriction, then I would definitely let them have their own little task force. So, it's not going to do anything. It's just all lip service. It's going to be the same echo chambers. It's worthless. So, that's my 2 cents. So, I don't think I'm wrong. So, hope you guys are doing well. It's, things have been kind of crazy for me, so I've just kind of been keeping my head down, and it's nice to see some of you guys. So, I'll leave this information up, and I'll put the link to the bill that I shared so you guys can read it at your own leisure. You guys also can download it. You guys can print it out, and that way you kind of know what you're looking at. I can't tell you how to act. I can only act for myself. I can only know how I'm going to behave, and I'm not into 80 percenters. That was never my thing, so I have nothing that really does not affect me. But I support everybody that does, and so I'm just I have nothing to worry about. So it's not something that I'm even concerned about. But I know there's a lot of us that do build their own guns, and I mean I think it's fun. I mean I build them from like serialized receivers, but I don't actually do the routering and everything like that. It's just I don't have the time, so that's why I've never gotten into it. So, but I know there's a lot of people that do it. So just be aware. Just be aware. It is a felony if you are caught after September 1st of 2024, and so just keep your head down, understand your rights, understand your due process rights. No probable cause. Don't give them any reason to search you. If you're going to be doing these acts, I'm not going to say they're illegal because constitutionally we have rulings across the country that have said that this is completely legal under federal law, and it's been supported at the Supreme Court level. So it's kind of you're in this kind of this gray area where it's only constitutional because it hasn't been challenged. So, but that's a different video. So, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great day, a good weekend, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.